This is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops. Wait till you test their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Check them out. Probably be the best you ever have as well. UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Give them a call and find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. Also, everybody on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Spectrum, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, as well as those watching on Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets. And a big hello to our friends on Chicago Food Favorites. Thanks for joining us on Chicago Food Favorites, folks. That's a fun group. Lots of great restaurants and great recipes and good, I don't know, your favorite fast foods and whatnot. Listen, folks, check it out. Chicago Food Favorites. If you don't know, you better ask somebody or you better get over to Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure that you join in the fun and tell them the circus sent you. All right. Lots to talk about here, from college football firings to pro football coaching firings to the NCAA baskets. In fact, that's where we're going to start right now, just because we can. You know, there's an arrogant coach over at Connecticut. And this guy, I mean, look, he's good. But at the end of the day, this guy is beyond arrogant. And it's always a happy day to read something and or to just simply watch the debacle. Going from disaster to debacle. Men's basketball, UConn drops 23 spots after losing 3 straight games to unranked teams in Hawaii. Gotta love that, folks. The old feast week is now behind us, and top-ranked Kansas made it out of the tournament unscathed. UConn, and more specifically, head coach Dan Hurley, however, wasn't so lucky. Well, think about this, folks. Here's a quote. Hurley said, "I'm not doing another 3-game multi-event again. Moving forward, we will only play home and homes or single-game events in big-time arenas. I don't think I'll ever do a 3-game MTE again unless I'm not coaching here. There's zero chance I ever do that again." Close quote. This guy. Seriously? You know, it's unbelievable because he's just like a little baby. Just knock it off already. This clown. Anyway, while that's almost certainly an overreaction in the wake of a bad week, it's easy to see why Hurley feels that way after the Maui Invitational, and the reigning back-to-back national champions lost 3 straight games to unranked opponents at the Lahaina Civic Center. First, they fell to Memphis in overtime in the opening round, and Hurley ripped the officiating after the game, too, and blamed the loss on beep calls, despite the fact that he was called for a critical late technical foul as a part of a 7-point swing in overtime. Then, Colorado handed the Huskies another loss the next day, and then the Dayton Flyers beat them by 18 points to wrap up the event. Gotta like that. So, UConn star Alex Karaban was taken to the hospital with a head injury during that game, too, after his head hit the floor in the final minutes of a contest. That's never a joke, folks. While UConn recovered with a 54-point throttling against Maryland Eastern Shore. Yeah, Maryland, who, what, huh? The damage was done. UConn, which entered the week at the number 2 position in the country, fell 23 spots to number 25. Gotta like that. And UConn's tumble completely reset the top 5 in the national rankings. Kansas held strong at number 1 and is still an undefeated 7-0. But Auburn jumped to take the Husky spot right behind the Jayhawks. All right, War Eagle. That's something finally to root for over in Auburn, Alabama. And the Tigers beat Iowa State on a game-winning bucket in Hawaii before beating North Carolina and Memphis to win the tournament and remain undefeated. How do you like them apples? Tennessee jumped to number 3, and Kentucky and Marquette then rounded out the top 5. Memphis entered the poll for the week for the first time as his title run in Hawaii. And the Tigers were ranked that time number 16. So there's no doubt that Hurley has a good team, and the Huskies should be capable of making a decent run come March, maybe, when they'll try to defend their national title, blah, blah, blah. But how the team and Hurley specifically recover after this skid, and it is a skid, Mark, if you will, yes, in the very near future, can define its season, and they'll host number 15 Baylor in the Big 12 Big East battle before traveling to Texas and then taking on number 7 Gonzaga in New York next week. And if Hurley can't turn things around, dreams of a three-peat in stores will be over before conference play even begins. All right. So let's take a look at that top 25. By the way, so it is number 1, Kansas, with 1,499 points at 7-0. Auburn, as we said, number 2, jumped up 2 slots. Their next game is against the Duke Blue Devils. All right. Tennessee jumps up 4 slots to number 3. Their next game is Syracuse. In fact, that'll be tomorrow. Kentucky jumps up 4 slots. Their next game is against Clemson. Marquette rounds out the top 5. They jump up 5 slots with their win, and that was a 32-point win. And, of course, they play again tomorrow. Iowa State, number 6, drops a slot, and that was kind of it's kind of a shocker, to be honest with you. They drop a slot with an enormous win over Colorado. Figure that one out. Up next for them is Marquette. Gonzaga drops 4 slots, even though, despite they beat Davidson by 25. Up next for them is Kentucky. They could probably gain that back. The Purdue Boilermakers, yes. Purdue Boilermakers jump up 5 slots with their win against Ole Miss, a very exciting game. And the Duke Blue Devils jump up 2 slots to number 9. Up next for them, of course, is Auburn. As we mentioned, Alabama drops 1. And they had a real tough loss to Oregon, 2-point lead. A 2-point lead was blown late in the game. They end up losing 83-81. Up next for them is Carolina. Number 11, Wisconsin. They jumped up 4 slots. Up next for them is Michigan. Oregon stays the same. Up next is USC. Florida up 5 to number 13. Cincinnati up 2. And up next for them is Villanova. Boy, that'll be one hell of a matchup. Baylor is number 15. They jumped up 2 slots. And they have Connecticut next, as we mentioned. Memphis was unranked. And now they are, actually, they weren't unranked. No, they were at the same spot. Hey, listen, folks, this is live. Anything could happen. They're at number 16. Up next for them is a broken Coke machine. Houston drops 11 spots. Up next for them is Butler. They're down to number 17. Pittsburgh remains the same at number 18. Illinois at number 19. Up next for them is Northwestern. North Carolina drops 8 slots with their loss to Michigan State. Up next for them is Alabama, as I mentioned. Oklahoma looks like the paper clips. That O and the U looks like a paper clip, if you know what I mean. Anyway, up next for them is Georgia Tech. They remain the same at 21. Texas A&M drops 2 to 22. Up next for them is Wake Forest. Ole Miss stays the same. Up next for them is Louisville. 24, San Diego State, unchanged. 25, as we mentioned, UConn down 23 spots. So back to this other bit here. We look at these games coming up on Wednesday. It's Baylor and UConn, Alabama, Carolina, Marquette, and Iowa State, a match between 5 and 6. Number 1, Kansas, they play over in Omaha at Creighton. That'll be one hell of a game. Coming up Saturday, it'll be Wisconsin at Marquette and Kentucky at Gonzaga. So there's some really good games coming up. Other teams that actually received votes were Michigan State got 108, Arkansas, Texas, Michigan, Arizona State, Indiana with 72. How about those Indiana Hoosiers in football? Yes, that's a Purdue guy giving Indiana a little bit of round of applause because they beat the living daylights out of our football team in West Lafayette. Well, that would be, they won the game in Bloomington, Indiana, but our team from West Lafayette being the Purdue Boilermakers. Unfortunately, the Boilermakers have seen better football days, that's for sure, and they're going to have a big change coming up here, and we're going to get into that in just a few moments. But I can assure you, folks, there's been a lot of changes in the pro football and college football landscape, and I think in the college basketball landscape there's going to be some too. Also receiving votes, by the way, was Drake. Drake with 58, Xavier 33, Utah State 28, Louisville, West Virginia, Clemson, BYU, the Dayton Flyers. Those guys are always good. They always find themselves in contention. Texas Tech out of Lubbock, Nebraska, Miss State, Ohio State, Maryland, UCLA, Creighton, St. Mary's, Georgia, St. John's, Loyola of Chicago, yes. Florida State, DePaul. How about DePaul actually getting some votes? Boy, those guys have just really stunk to join up in the Big East. UC Irvine, the Anteaters, and Columbia round out all those receiving votes. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportcircus.com. That's info@thesportcircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call
714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
All right, welcome back to the Sports Circus, folks. It would help if I actually plugged in the microphone. What do you think about that? All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody up and down the West Coast on all of our independents and network affiliates throughout the heartland, all the way over to the East Coast. Big hello to our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, as well as our friends in Auburn, Alabama. That's WAUD 1230 on the AM dial. That, of course, is home of the Atlanta Braves. Nice round of applause for them. And welcome back to everybody also on Chicago Food Favorites. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, make sure you check that out. Join, participate, have some fun. Don't complain about, well, that looks like a video, that looks like a picture, whatever. Get over it. End of day, you've got lots of good stuff posted there. And you know what? Listen, post your favorite recipes, your favorite restaurants, and whatever, your favorite foods. Have some fun with it, folks. It's free. There's no advertising, no BS on that page, no nothing. It's just good old-fashioned fun, as it was supposed to be. All right. Well, we left off with college hoops in the last segment. Now we're going to head over to college football because it's sort of that wrap-up. We have to do that. And we take a look at what has happened recently. And in college football, it's been an interesting, I guess, the last week or so. I don't really care about what's going on with the coaches poll, but let's take a look real quick at the Associated Press Top 25. Now, Oregon gets their win at Washington. They double them up, 49-21, actually more than double them up. Number 2, Texas jumps up a slot with their win, a very tough game over at Bryan Field, 17-7 over Texas A&M. Up next for them is going to be Georgia. By the way, Oregon has the Big Ten championship game against Penn State. Yes, Penn State. We'll get to that in a second. And so, number 3, Penn State, as I mentioned, they jump up one slot because of Ohio State lost. That's right. We'll get to them in a minute. And number 4, Notre Dame. Got themselves a win over in Los Angeles. I will talk about them with the college football playoff in just a moment. Number 5, they have no game next week, of course. And Georgia, number 5, jumps up one slot. Up next for them, of course, is going to be Texas. And that's going to be in, the SEC championship game. Tennessee gets a win over in Nashville against Vanderbilt at number 6. They jump up a slot. And it's Ohio State, dropping 5 slots to their loss to unranked Michigan. That's right. That was at the Horseshoe. And folks, if you saw the end of the game, the Michigan flag came out. They were celebrating, having some fun somewhere in the middle of the field. And it was the Ohio State players that were crying like little girls, just crying like little punks. And they had to start a fracas and fight with the Michigan players because the Michigan players were celebrating on their field. For the 4th year in a row, they beat them. Yes! How do you like that? Boy, that was a fun thing to see. And of course, it was a game that really lacked any real excitement except for the final score. Now, number 8, is now SMU. They jumped up one slot with their drudging of Cal. Up next for them is Clemson in the ACC championship game. And of course, Indiana, despite not being in the Big Ten championship game, because they did lose head-to-head. Wait, did they? No, they didn't. You know what? Let me check something here, folks, because if I'm not mistaken, I want to see something. And, I think about no, in fact, they didn't. Indiana did not play Penn State. They did not play Penn State. So I guess what I'm curious of is why Indiana did not make it to the Big Ten championship game. Now, I don't know. Folks, I'm just looking at this right now for the first time. What I don't understand is why they didn't, and the reason being is because both teams, they lost to Ohio State. However, it's usually, as I understand it, it's usually the team that has not had the appearance ahead of time. In other words, whoever's had the last appearance, the other team that's been waiting longer would get the nod. Now, to me, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I can't rummage through this right now, but I just wanted to verify, and I don't see, Indiana did not play against Penn State this year because, why is that? It's pretty simple. Indiana only has one loss, and that was to Ohio State. So technically, Indiana should be in the Big Ten championship game. And I'm not really sure why. So listen, I'm just as oblivious right now as you are listening to me on this. But it just seems reasonable that Indiana would be playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, not to say that either Penn State or Indiana would beat Oregon. I don't know. But to me, it's a little troubling. Nonetheless, Indiana is ranked number 9. Up next for them is a bowl game, and it's probably going to be in the college football playoff. We'll see where they position out. They will be in there somewhere. I just don't know where. How about Boise State and Ashton Jeanty? Man, this kid is sick. It's unbelievable what he can do on that field, averaging about, almost 8 yards every time he touches the ball. And look, I get Travis Hunter being pushed by Deion Sanders, et cetera, but listen, Ashton Jeanty is one of those guys that he has the power of an Earl Campbell. He has the cutting ability of a Barry Sanders. And Ashton Jeanty is legit, and I hope he wins the Heisman Trophy. Of course, all the hype and the BS is going to go to Travis Hunter from Colorado because he plays both sides of the ball, whatever. Yet he's good, and I'll give it to him. I mean, look, Travis Hunter's a good one. He's a good one, and he is the leading candidate right now, which, look, you have to play who's on your schedule. It happens that Ashton Jeanty is in the Mountain West Conference. So be it. Well, Colorado is in one click a little bit higher, which is the Big 12 Conference. The competition level is not that much greater. And in fact, Boise State just beat Oregon State, a very good Oregon State team in Corvallis, 34-18. Up next for them is the Mountain West Conference game against the local team here in Las Vegas. Number 11, Alabama. They jumped up 2 slots to get to number 11 with their win over at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. Arizona State with a real nice win over rival Arizona. Up next for them is going to be Iowa State. Yeah, Arizona State at 10-2. Imagine that. South Carolina jumped up 3 slots to number 13 with their win, a shocker, at Death Valley at Clemson. That knocked Clemson out of the ACC title game. And the same thing happened with Miami of Florida. They lose a shocker in Syracuse, 42-38, down 6 slots and out of the ACC championship game contention. And guess what? They're waiting for a bowl game. I don't think that they're going to make the college football playoff. I can't see it right now. Ole Miss with a win in the Egg Bowl is a lot closer than what people thought. In fact, we gave that one away on the Sports Circus several days ago before the game. In fact, we went over all these games. Sports Circus had a really good prognostication week. And Ole Miss come away with a 26-14 win. Number 16, Iowa State, which jumped up 1 slot to number 16, with their win against a very good Kansas State team. And that was one of those hard-fought games. Iowa State, as I mentioned, plays Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game. Boy, that ought to be one hell of a game. Brigham Young jumped up 2 slots with their win at Houston, 30-18, and they await a bowl game. Clemson dropped 6 slots, as I mentioned. Up next for them is SMU. Now, UNLV, with their win of 38-14 over rival Nevada, the Wolfpack, they're awaiting Boise State. They jumped up 2-19. Now, the winner of that has a real good shot. I think Boise State's going to be in the college football playoff, but I think UNLV could sneak in there with a win against Boise State. Colorado jumped up 3 with their drudging of Oak State, 52-0. Illinois awaiting a bowl game. They beat Northwestern by 10, 38-28. Missouri Tigers in a very interesting game. That was in Fayetteville, 28-21. They jumped up 2. Final ranking for them is number 22. They await a regular bowl game too. Syracuse, we mentioned, they're in the same situation at number 23. Army, with their tough win against University of Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners. And we called that one here on the circus. UTSA is a tremendously underrated squad. Those guys are good. Up next for UTSA is against Tulane. And that's going to be one hell of a game. And the round out the top 25 is Memphis with their win, of course, against Tulane, 34-24. Back here in a few minutes, talking about the coaching carousel on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting. Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Al's Number One Italian Beef. Folks, if you've never had one of those, get your ass over there and have one because, man, it is good. It is stupid good. And if you can't get to Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And tell them the circus sent you. Yes! And that's good stuff. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. All of our television affiliates with Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and Wow Cable TV, Hotel TV. Also, everybody watching on Chicago Food Favorites, big welcome in to James and Al and Alan and George and Veronica and everybody else that's watching and or listening. We have just a still shot on there just because we can. Folks, make sure you check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure you join. Have some fun. Post your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. I don't know, just join the chatter, have some fun, create some chaos because we like chaos. All right, speaking of chaos, how about the Chicago Bears? You want to talk about a disaster. These guys, look, my home team, and it drives me crazy. I can't even say the words that I want to say because, well, let's face it, I can't. Because we are an FCC-regulated show. We are not a podcast. Of course, all those podcasts that are sitting out there, you can say whatever you want. We cannot. However, the Bears finally get rid of Eberflus. And, you know, there was an awkward press conference, and it took place hours before his firing and announced the coaching changes. It's just one chaotic mess after another. And I don't really know what the Bears were thinking with this. You know, the general manager has his hands full. President of operations has his hands full. It's because the ownership of the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, really needs to change. And there is so much, well, we'll call it red tape. I think there's red tape in between Kevin Warren being able to do what he wants to do, Ryan Poles being able to do what he wants to do, and I believe, in my opinion, it's McCaskey's that are causing the chaos. And, of course, we go back to the George Halas family, etc. And blah, 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 McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey, da-da-da-da. Anyway, the Bears emerged from Thanksgiving long weekend without a permanent head coach following Matt Eberflus's firing. And, of course, the team's leadership now is face the media armed with explanations, promises, and a few coaching changes for good measure. In fact, the main explanation for the Bears offered during a press conference was a bit confusing. I mean, look, this whole firing happened, well, the day after Thanksgiving. And the morning after the Bears' 23-20 loss to the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving, during which Eberflus's poor decision-making and play calling demonstrated lots of harm. And the team, yet again, Eberflus met with the media. And it was just one awkward presser after another. I got to tell you, folks, it is a cluster you-know-what. We'll just call it a dumpster fire. Anyway, it was an awkward presser and made even more awkward a few hours later when the Bears fired him, axing head coach during the season for the first time in franchise history. So letting Eberflus face the media just before being fired, slightly cruel, but team president Kevin Warren said that his intention was the opposite. Bears leadership was still meeting about Eberflus's future at the time of the media session, and Warren wanted to give him the opportunity to tell his family before the news leaked to the media. Boy, you want to talk about a weird political, nonsensical press conference? That's what it was. And look, the Bears were criticized for having Eberflus meet with the media mere hours before his firing. So Kevin Warren explained on the timing, including the desire for Eberflus to tell his family before the news leaked. So essentially, it's like, look, we're going to give you a chance to take the poison pill. If you want to take the poison pill, that's great. But if you don't want to, we'll do it for you. So I don't know. I mean, it's just politics. It stinks. And of course, they say, in retrospect, we could have done it better. Absolutely. And this is Kevin Warren. I'll be the first one to raise my hand, yes. But during his press conference, and even a couple hours later, we had not reached a decision. On the flip side of it, is that something that was important to us is that once we reached the decision, we wanted to make sure to talk to Matt about that so he could have had the respect to be able to call his family. Mom, we're not coming home. We got fired. We have to walk home from Detroit. Anyway, it happened around the league where a lot of head coaches will find out they're terminated. And of course, they find out before the team's told the organization. All right? Before actually that guy is told by the team. Anyway, that's something that we promise that we're not going to do, says Kevin Warren. So in retrospect, we could have done it better. Yeah. But we were trying to be respectful. And we didn't know our decision when he started his press conference. I don't believe that whatsoever. They absolutely knew what they were doing. So, despite the kindness, the alleged kindness, of wanting Eberflus to tell his family about his firing about himself, Warren failed to explain why the team leadership was still meeting about Eberflus at the time and why the conversation lasted several hours past the end of the presser. And of course, presser, by the way, being press conference. That paints a less than stellar portrait of Bears decision makers, thank you, Kevin Warren, who had been shown time and time again that Eberflus was not working out, yet still didn't fire him. Yeah. Anyway, one of those decision makers, General Manager Ryan Poles, will be in charge of hiring the new coach. And of course, Warren said that his faith in Poles remains strong and believes the Bears will find the right person. Yeah, I get that. But you had the wrong person in the first place. When are they going to hire the right person? Warren was less forthright about quarterback Caleb Williams' role in the upcoming head coach search, and Warren wouldn't commit to Williams having any input on the decision, but said that a major part of every interview will be discussing the plan for Williams' future. So Thomas Brown announced coaching changes. Now, interim coach Thomas Brown, who was elevated from offensive coordinator over the weekend to replace the dismissed Eberflus, announced the change to what is now his coaching staff, starting with the promotion of Chris Beatty from wide receivers coach to interim offensive coordinator. Brown will still call plays, but emphasized, of course, as he did when he was promoted to interim OC earlier in the season following the fire of Shane Waldron. It's not a one-man show, and it's not about me. So, defensive coordinator Eric Washington will take over defensive play calling, while special teams coordinator Richard Hightower will remain in his position. The Bears' first game with Brown at head coach will be against the reeling San Francisco 49ers. And you know, that is a whole nother discussion. We're going to get to that in just a moment here, because when we think of what's going on with the 49ers, we have to go back to what's going on with this NFL coaching carousel. I mean, what's going on here? And you ask yourself, who's really out there? And you could say, well, this guy and that guy. And it's easy to look at who is out there. I mean, look, a couple of good coaches that sit out there. Mike Vrabel, former Tennessee Titans head coach. This guy is pretty damn good. And of course, when you look at Mike Vrabel, you say, what has he done? He's done a lot. And he's one of those guys that fit the Chicago Bears coaching model, I think, quite well. Well, and of course, there's always Bill Belichick. Now, Bill Belichick will understandably be atop many NFL coaching candidates list in the offseason. But remember, Mike Vrabel shouldn't be far less appealing anyway, because his team is seeking a long-term answer. The Bears need a long-term answer. Vrabel's only going to turn 50 next August and comes with a strong track record. He was 9-7 in his first 2 seasons as the Titans head coach, even reaching the AFC Championship game. He followed that up with a consecutive season with double-digit wins from the 2021 season, made the playoffs in 3 of his 6 seasons as the Titans coach. The finalist for the Chargers job, that vacancy, of course, was filled by Jim Harbaugh. And Vrabel bringing leadership, a sharp defensive mind, and he's well-liked by players. So he's actually a very good choice. And there is one other guy. Brian Flores might be a decent choice, but Bill Belichick seems to be looking for something to do. He's been rumored to have some interest in the Jacksonville job, but how about this? Credit to Bill Belichick for using the 2024 NFL season to show his personality. Yes, he actually does have one, and he's did it on air too. So it sheds a little light into his personality, and that he's kept basically that whole persona under wraps. But look, in 2023, Patriots defense allowed the 4th lowest yards per play at 4.7 and opponents scoring at 31.5% while ranking 8th in EPA per play allowed in 2024. And of course, New England ranks 22nd and 18th and 28th now in those categories. Look, this guy has won. And he's won big. Remember, he started out as an assistant coach like everybody else. But Bill Belichick seems to be a guy that can fill in for the Chicago Bears. That's a storied job. That's not just some team looking. This is a quality organization with a rich history. And it would seem that Belichick would be a really good fit with a good young quarterback that has a receiving core. Maybe he can figure out a way to build up that offensive line to protect Caleb Williams. Anyway, I would love to see Bill Belichick wearing the orange and blue from Oak Park and River Forest High School to University of Illinois Champaign to the Chicago Bears. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which can all be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. And also, some of them that haven't been added, and just some that are friends of ours, along with everybody on Chicago Food Favorites. And our favorite pizza place in Chicagoland, and basically our favorite pizza place, period, is Salerno's on the Fox over in St. Charles, Illinois. That is the far western suburbs of Chicago. Check out Salerno's on the Fox at salernosonthefox.com. You could also head on over there. They're at 320 North 2nd Street in St. Charles, Illinois. In fact, that's right across the river from our good friend Ron Onesti's place, the Arcata Theater. Lots of great rock and roll shows and plays and all kinds of great live entertainment over at the Arcata Theater in St. Charles. And that is on Roosevelt Road and the Fox River. So if you're out in that part of the country, got to check it out. But that pizza is something special. And you know what? Back to Salerno's on the Fox. Got to tell you, folks, there are pizzas, and then there are, holy smokes, this is incredible pizza. Give them a call. Place your order, 630-584-7900. 630-584-7900. And tell them Sal from the Sports Circus sent you. Of course, an enormous round of applause for Salerno's on the Fox. And everybody on Chicago Food Favorites, too. We can talk about it because we control all the content. And listen, folks, if you're not in Chicagoland, it's okay, because you could probably give them a call, just like Al's #1 Italian Beef. Go to alsbeef.com. You could probably do the same thing at salernosonthefox.com, and you could order your pre-made pizzas there. If I'm not mistaken, you can do that. I have to tell you, it is phenomenal. Of course, they have other Italian dishes there, too. But we like to talk about food because, let's face it, we all have to eat at some point, if you know what I mean. You know what makes me laugh when people say, well, you know, I'm a foodie. Okay, you're a foodie. We're all foodies, I suppose. Right? Think about that one. So if we're all humans, what do? We eat. Well, and guess what? We're all foodies. So foodie is not a professional designation of some sort. And I just don't understand why people try to make themselves sound important by, oh, well, I'm a foodie. Listen, we're all foodies. Anyway, we all like good food, good Italian food, good Chinese food, good Mexican food, good Thai food, good Ethiopian food, whatever. Good soul food. Man, I love some good soul food. But at the end of the day, listen, there are lots of good food options out there. We all have choices every day. I don't push big chains or whatnot. I'm not trying to push that. I like the mom and pops. My father used to have a pizza place in Chicagoland over by Lincoln Lawrence and Western. It was called Tuzzolino's Pizza. It was written up in the paper, all kinds of great stuff. Problem is he put it in the wrong neighborhood. He put it in the middle of a German neighborhood, but, you know, he didn't market it right. So a lot of these places, these little mom and pop places, they don't do a lot of marketing is what I'm after. And if they did, they'd be a lot bigger. Maybe they don't know how to. And frankly, I don't think my father really knew how to do it. But he had a great product. And in fact, it was very similar to Salerno's Pizza. In fact, I think it was just a click better than Salerno's. Either way, two phenomenal pizza places. And we always want to support the mom and pop restaurants. So if you're listening in or watching on Chicago Food Favorites or even on any of our CBS, NBC, or Fox Sports affiliates, listen, all you got to do is go to the Chicago Food Favorites page, post your favorite restaurants and recipes and whatnot. Listen, it doesn't have to be that you're in Chicagoland. It doesn't matter. We have members from all over the world that join in. And I'm rambling about it because I can, because we like food. We like good food too. So anyway, check all that out online and make sure that you participate and have some fun. Now, here's a guy that thought he was having fun. He seemed to be a colossal failure in Auburn, Alabama, and that was former Auburn coach, and that was Brian Harsin. He appears to be trolling the Auburn Tigers after what happened in the Iron Bowl over the weekend. And this guy deserves an astounding round of boos. This guy. Can't he just go away? He didn't do anything to grow the program at Boise State before coming to Auburn. I mean, what was Auburn thinking of for hiring this guy in the first place, a Mountain West guy that maintained a program rather than grow it, to handle a big-time SEC program? What a terrible decision. But anyway, they've moved on from there. But this clown, what is he doing? Apparently, in a social media post, it appears that former Auburn Tigers head coach Brian Harsin has trolled his program after their Iron Bowl loss to Alabama. And the social media post was made on Harsin's account and appeared to show a picture of the former coach wearing an Auburn shirt after the victory. Come on! This guy. As you know, Harsin was the former head coach at Auburn during the 2021-22 seasons and was fired by the Tigers midway through the 22 season. As head coach of the program, Harsin compiled an abysmal 9-12 overall record, lost his lone Iron Bowl appearance at home, mind you. Yes, I don't care if it was in 4 overtimes or 10 overtimes or in regulation. He lost. And of course, Harsin did not coach in the 2022 Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa, as he was fired as head coach at Auburn prior to the season's game, with Cadillac Williams serving as the interim. This guy, how dare he show up wearing anything like that? You know, that is just really poor taste. And this is exactly why Brian Harsin is out of the coaching loop right now. This guy, just go away. Seriously. All right, let's shift over into Major League Baseball. And, you know, remember, we had that problem, or the hurricane problem in Florida. And, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays were really hung out to dry from stadium damage and whatnot. And so now Major League Baseball swaps the Rays' July and August home dates with the Angels Twins due to the Tampa Bay's move to Steinbrenner Field. So the Rays will play 59% of their late season schedule on the road during, or better yet, due to weather conditions. So you want to talk about a team that's really been hung out to dry? Well, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. So Major League Baseball announced some changes to its 2025 schedule as a result of the Rays playing their home games at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa next season due to the damage sustained at Tropicana Field during Hurricane Milton. And in fact, the statement issued by Major League Baseball said, quote, "These proactive schedule adjustments have been made to optimize the number of games played in the best weather conditions, given the Rays' transition to an outdoor ballpark," close quote. So Major League Baseball did announce here a long press release, but I just gave you some of it. And it goes on to say Major League Baseball today announced the adjustments, as I just mentioned. And they say, the series between the Rays and the Angels, originally scheduled for Angel Stadium for Monday, April 7th, Wednesday, April 9th, will now take place at Steinbrenner Field from Tuesday, April 8th to Thursday, April 10th. The second meeting between the clubs was originally scheduled at Tampa Bay from Tuesday, August 5th through August 7th, will now be played at Angel Stadium from Monday, August 4th to Wednesday, August 6th. And the series between the Rays and the Twinkies, what you call them the Minnesota Twins, originally scheduled for Target Field Monday, May 26th through Wednesday, May 28th, will now be played at Steinbrenner Field on those same dates. Additionally, the original scheduled series in Tampa from July 4th through July 6th will now take place at Target Field up in Minneapolis. So there's some changes going on, and I mean, look, it's an inconvenience, but I think it's a good job by Major League Baseball to move these games. And, maybe Tampa could have played some games up in Oakland. A lot of people in Oakland are belly aching because they lost the Oakland A's. Well, yeah, I mean, Tampa hasn't really been the big fan favorite locally because, they have spring training baseball and people don't really come out to support the Tampa Bay Rays during the regular season too much, although they're a very good squad, very good farm systems. They develop players nicely. Unfortunately, the fans just don't come out and support them. But, the Tampa Bay Rays could have went to Oakland. Oh, that's right. Oakland. Libby Shaft, the mayor of Oakland, said, "We're a baseball-first city." Yeah, how'd that work out? So that's why they let the Golden State Warriors go over to the peninsula, to the San Francisco side. That's why they let the Raiders come down here to Las Vegas. And that's why, of course, the Oakland A's are on their way down here to where? Las Vegas. And so they don't really deserve a full-time team, but they could have played their games in Oakland, at least to give the fans, the baseball fans in Oakland, something to cheer about. I think that would have actually been a class move, but nope, that one didn't happen. But nonetheless, to avoid the summer humidity, which can reach levels of 90% or higher in July or in August in Tampa, Major League Baseball has moved, of course, those games, as I mentioned. But remember, as a result of these changes, the Rays will play 64 of their last 108 games on the road, according to the Associated Press, and the team is only scheduled to play 8 home games in both July and August. Now, Steinbrenner Field has a capacity of 11,000. Of course, that's seemingly a little bit more than what they were drawing anyway in Tampa, so it kind of fits. And of course, that is the ballpark for the Yankees Class A affiliate, the Tampa Tarpons. And the Tarpons will play their home games on the fields on the Yankees complex during the Florida State League season. Now, Tropicana Field, as you know, suffered damage to its fabric roof when they were wiped away from Hurricane Milton, allowing the rain and wind to also harm the interior of the stadium. After assessing the damage, the city of St. Petersburg determined that fixing the facility would cost $55 million and would not be completed until 2026. So I guess the bigger question is, are they going to get a stadium out of this? I mean, really, what they should do is just bulldoze that place because they've been really waiting for a new stadium anyway. The question is, will the residents in the Tampa area support it? I don't know. I mean, Tampa's been rumored to, their Tampa Bay Rays have been around rumors to move their ball team to this place or to that place. Is it time for the Tampa Bay Rays to move their team to a city that will support them? And frankly, I don't think baseball should be playing, regular season baseball should be played in Florida because they have got spring training, and what else do they have? They have fall league, and they have winter ball down there. There's a lot of baseball in the state of Florida. You really don't need 2 baseball teams. Look, even the Marlins are really suffering down there with a lack of support in the greater Miami market. They just can't support baseball in the regular season, in my opinion. Maybe it's time for both Florida teams to move on to better locations. Now, that makes a little bit of sense to me. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you next time in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA. the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.